Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Curtis, coming to you live tonight. From a gap in the border fencing near the U.S.-Mexico border, we're in Yuma, Arizona. Our cameras were rolling today as dozens and then hundreds walked into this makeshift border checkpoint today to try to gain asylum. The area has long been a weak point that cartels and human smugglers have been able to exploit. But in the last few weeks, local agencies tell us the number of people crossing here is surging again, all because of the end of a federal policy you've heard about, we've talked about it, Title 42, now just hours away from expiring. That's the public health policy that was used to justify quick expulsions and migrants being turned away at the border since the beginning of the pandemic back in 2020. Tonight, we're taking an in-depth look and bringing you this border crisis firsthand and the backlog of people who are trying to cross into the U.S. across this southwest border. We have team coverage tonight, so let's begin along another border town, Nogales. And I want to introduce all of you to the newest member of our team, Allison Rodriguez, who's joining the Today in Arizona team. Allison, great to see you. You've been in Nogales for the last few days. What are you seeing there?
So, Mark, I have to tell you that we've been in Nogales. We've also been west of here in Sassabee, Arizona as well. And the tone from people who live in these communities is it's business as usual. But I want to step out and show you the difference because I think this spot really illustrates the difference in size, the disparity between Nogales, Mexico and Nogales, Arizona. And this shows you Border Patrol telling me they know they're up against a lot here when dealing with the other side of the wall and what's happening there. They say it isn't lost on them, the task that they have patrolling this wall, and also it's not lost on those who are giving aid to those making this treacherous journey. And I want to tell you, the people you're going to meet in this story tonight, they did give us permission to share their story. Desperate times call for desperate measures. That's what Hector Sanchez says drove him and his group to travel from central Mexico to the border in Nogales, Arizona.
They killed my cousin. They kicked us out of our house. We don't have anywhere to return to, and we can't go back.
Sylvia Sotelo says criminals kidnapped her 14-year-old daughter, and when she got her back, she discovered someone had sexually assaulted her.
They threatened me that if I talked, they will come for us. So I quieted down, and I didn't say anything. But now, my daughter is pregnant, and so we had to leave.
They decided now would be the time to cross before Title 42 officially ended Thursday night.
In despair, that's what encouraged us to do this. It was the last alternative from what we were hearing on the news, that it's going to get more complicated after.
It's just one of the many encounters Border Patrol is going to have today. This is one of the busiest gaps in the wall for the Nogales station, and most of the groups will cross right here and present themselves to officials waiting on the other side. But other gaps along the wall are busy too. In Sassabee, Arizona, just west of Nogales, we rode with humanitarian aid worker Gail Kocurek Wednesday, who drives up and down the wall, giving or leaving life-saving water for people crossing.
Somos Samaritanos!
She's yelling to a scout on the Mexico side, checking for when the coast is clear. Her group, Tucson Samaritans, works to make sure people crossing have food or water. They know the desert is unforgiving and that the migrants or asylum seekers are not told the truth about it.
They get lied to constantly. They don't have a clue.
Gail's group isn't the only one watching. As we saw one group walking along the border fence, a watch group stopped and approached them. Border Patrol agent Robert Ortiz says these groups are not affiliated with the agency.
This is open to any U.S. citizen, right? So anybody who wants to come, it is either Forest Service land, state trust land, city land, so anybody can go up there.
The agents have a tough job managing the crossers and keeping up with the changing tactics to try and slip through.
Now it's going to be like 2 over there, 2 right here, 2 over there. They're going to wait to see which one I respond to, and then they're going to go that deal. So the game has changed a little bit.
It's a cat and mouse game that is only getting more complicated now that Title 42 is coming to an end. I also want to mention a couple of the people we spoke to said they did try to go through the CBP One app to make their appointments, but they said it either took too long, it was going to take about 20 to 30 days, or they just couldn't navigate the app. And so they said they felt this was their only option. Mark?
Allison, you mentioned Border Patrol in your story. Hats off to Border Patrol in every border state, Arizona, California, and Texas. But they can only do so much. They're overwhelmed. And I'm wondering, what's the situation in the town of Nogales? How overwhelmed are the processing centers there?
You know, they're very busy here, and I'm told the detention centers here, the gentleman I was speaking with, he said he didn't have specific numbers and he couldn't tell me if it was full, but he said he knows it has been much busier over the last few weeks than it has been over the last few years.
Allison, it's great to have you as part of the 12 News team. We're so glad you're going to be joining us starting Monday morning on Today in AZ. Thanks for joining us, and we'll have more of your coverage coming up later on tonight from Nogales. I want to bring in the mayor right now of Yuma, Doug Nichols. Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us. You've known this was coming for a long time. As we stand here just hours before the expiration of Title 42, is it about what you thought it would be, or is it worse?
Well, I guess I'm an optimistic person, and I expected to have more resources. I expected to have more attention and more ability to manage this situation from the federal level than we've had. The numbers are probably, I don't know if they're where I expect, but I'm not surprised by the numbers.
You had a press conference today, and you announced that at this point, because you're at capacity, 140-something migrants will be released. Where do you stand right now with that?
Well, we're working hard to try to facilitate them and not have them released to the streets tomorrow. We currently don't have a hard plan in place, but it's what we're working on tonight. This is not something that just stops at 5 o'clock. So we got people working on it now and working with partners in Phoenix and in Tucson and here locally.
Because just releasing migrants into the streets is not a sustainable idea for America, is it?
Not for America, and particularly not for Yuma. We have very few commercial transportation opportunities. We've got a couple buses that come. They've already got people on them, so they're not empty. We've got 3 or 4 flights a day out of Yuma. They're usually pretty full. So to move 140 people, it's not necessarily readily available. And it'd be okay if it was one day, but we're looking at day after day after day, and those numbers probably growing.
Earlier today, Homeland Secretary Mayorkas said this is going to be a slow and painful process. Slow from his vantage point in Washington, but from where you sit in the mayor's office, and for all of the people in Arizona and the other border states, it's a slow and painful process for them as well, with long-lasting repercussions. What do you say to the people of Yuma?
Well, I think it's the patience, the support. Those are the things we currently need. Really, from the local perspective, people are really understanding in this community, but we're just about done with this. This is over 2 years of back and forth on how can this be managed better. And so today I also issued a letter to the president on the behalf of the people of Yuma to demand a national proclamation of emergency so we can get the resources that would truly have an impact and not just kind of have an impact on the situation.
You feel like Washington has turned its back on you?
To a degree it has. And there's a huge need. The numbers support it. It's not me making up an emergency. The numbers are clear that we're in emergency mode.